business. Never. And if you keep letting individuals who don't represent you, all you have to do is the same stuff that the pirates from Europe who plundered our continent, the same phrases that they used. No taxation without representation. All you have to do is reverse the narrative and use that same narrative against them, because they were lying when they said it. They claimed to be separating from Britain. They claimed to be fighting from Britain in the Civil War. They used the Civil War to slaughter the inhabitants of the United States of America, and then give Great Britain the final exclusive right of colonization of the USA. And then they left the United States of America and went to India and did the same thing. Then they left India and went to China, all while they're talking about they ended slavery. They did China and Africa at the same time. 1884 Berlin Conference. Opium Wars of China. Belgium goes down into the Congo and slaughters 20 million people. The smallest country, so if the smallest country in Europe slaughtered 20 million, how many did the Dutch slaughter when they went down there? 30 million. How much did the British slaughter when they went down there? 50 million. How much did Germany slaughter when they took South Africa? When they took Southwest Africa, Namibia? 100 million. How much did the French take slaughter? And the French took half of Africa. 1 billion people. And they're still slaughtering. All of those nations, including the US, have colonies that they are slaughtering under your fake notion of democracy. While all of the West got their head in the sand, our brothers and sisters around the world have been being slaughtered. And the USA's most wanted, Brexitdous, no more Gog and Magog, no more Gog and Magog, says we're not fooled as to who you are, says it's Judgment Day. Says try and play around, try and shed blood in Judgment Day. Test the spirits if you want to. I'm talking about the spirits that they do their satanic colonization under. Let that unnatural satanic demon possession get you to follow some satanic, unnatural, demon possessed vagabonds. Let their deception, let their lies get you to not stand up and do the right thing. To not make it right all over the globe. For what generation after generation after generation has stood idly by. It's a word called acquiesce. It's a word called acquiesce. I'm going to pull acquiescence up so you can see it yourself. I'm gonna pull acquiescence up. Share the screen. Definition of acquiescence. Definition of acquiescence. To accept, to comply, or submit tacitly or passively. To accept or comply. To submit tacitly or passively. To agree. To give your consent silently. When you have access to the internet and you see that there are institutions in place that people have gotten wealthy off of, and you participate in those same systems and you go get degrees and you become professionals and you aid these systems, these infrastructures in continuing the exploitation, you have committed the crime of acquiescence. How is it a crime, Dr. Life? Y'all let the same fake Germans who have no God but Satan define spirituality for y'all. But that doesn't erase the only true God and the only true God's law. And the only true God said, I will require an accounting for every drop of blood. This is that accounting. I will require an accounting for every drop of blood. And when you ignorantly allow the enemy of God to define spirituality, to ignorantly define all of the laws of the land, and then you blindly, when you have been commanded to study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman rightly dividing the word of truth. And then when you go to make your little stankin' money that you make, oh, you study, yo, you go get whatever certifications and qualifications, whatever they require you to have. When you put on that application, you go out and get that to make sure that that resume say that. And the Most High God said, in my Father's house there are many mansions. You made your choice, yo. He said, oh, I got an application process too. Oh, I'm gonna have an application process too. Study to show yourself approved unto God. And you just chose where to rest your head at. A life is simply about choices. And our people over and over and over again have let the enemy of the only true God lower the bar, offer you nothing. If you bow down and worship me, I will give you all of the nations. He ain't had no nations to give him. And what was the creator of heaven and earth? That's who he was tempting in the desert, the creator. Y'all let them lie to you and tell you. Y'all let them lie to you and tell you. This is a bunch of mythical stories and all of that. The slavery that they done enslaved you with, it ain't mythical, is it? No. Why? Because it was a literal, physical, fallen, demonic loser who came using the word of God to, not the word of God that he created, the word of God that the same individual that he is tempting spoke life on earth. And he comes to that same being who created him in heaven. If you bow down and worship me, this is the clown that's deceiving you. And everything that y'all believe in is just systems that individuals have built who have fallen for the lie that the Messiah destroyed, so nobody would ever fall for the lie. Every European system, every European lie, everything is a bunch of people who, after he showed how to crush that weak, powerless, ignorant, fallen being, how to crush him. And just because Caesar, just because the Hebrews, just because the Romans, just because the Muslims, just because the Western world all want to bow down for nothing, it's still not going to excuse you for paying the price for being that ignorant. And if y'all have held our brothers and sisters accountable in this system under that lawlessness, y'all have locked up people. Y'all have sat back while the lawless, satanic, German bastards have created the drug trades, have created the pedophile sex rings, have created every black market, every black industry under the gift of the nations that their satanic fallen being said he would give them. So then they come into lands that they don't own or possess, and the only industries that they can put in place are death, destruction, hatred, violence, vice, crime. And then you give those individuals the power to set up fake courts. Then when they are attacking the righteous, when they are attacking those who simply want to supernaturally, men love women. Women who supernaturally love men and want to have a family. That's who is under attack. And you fake satanically led individuals sit up the whole time while they lynch people, come into their house as cowards with hoods on, come 300 and 400 and 500 to attack one family, you cowards. Lynch the families, lynch the men, leave another family scarred. Had a whole period after so-called emancipation where grievances and vices done against those who simply, now that we off the plantation, we about to get this money, and y'all poor, starving, ignorant Europeans, because y'all was so-called in the free promised land, but because a system was in place that said, if you was an ignorant backwater German, European, and a person of color was blessed to now, even after being off a plantation, be able to get money. Your peoples had so-called been here for 200 years. The real reason behind bigotry is because the curses that Europeans, and especially in the Bible Belt, all over the United States of America, your problem right now is that you're living a spiritual lie and you cannot be blessed. Your own people hate you, and because every time you look around, our people, because of the blessings of the Most High God, with no institutions, still are the engine of every economy around the globe. And then when you can't, that is the satanic spirit of envy. That is the satanic spirit of covetousness. You're going to pay. So then you use the fact, I claim European, so I can use that as an advantage to go out. Affirmative action. Y'all been welfare recipients of Rome and Greece, welfare recipients of hate for 2,000 years. Y'all been the welfare recipients and the affirmative action recipients of fascism for 2,000. Caesar created fascism. All power, all authority in one man, who is God, priest, and king. God on earth, priest on earth, king. That is satanic too. You're going to pay for fascism. You're going to pay for fascism. You're going to pay for 2,000 years worth of. The price is give up all. What must I do to be saved? What must I do to pay reparations and repair the damage that my ancestors visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation? When you are an affirmative action recipient of shed blood, let his blood be on us and our children. I'm just telling you what your ancestors. This includes these new age fake wannabe Hebrews. They think that they can hide under the name of Abraham and they won't fall under the retribution. The same Germans, when the same, well, they don't use the same Bible. They created new Bibles. King James Version, the Catholic version. They haven't given you the words that came out of the mouth of God. They've given you books that came out of the pen of King James, that came out of papal bulls. But the words that came out of the mouth of God, given to his apostles, those apostles, the words that came out of their mouth said, after he done came, ain't no more Hebrew, ain't no more Gentile. It's only Ham, it's only Cush. Nazarite, Samaritan, Ham, descendant of Ham, Cush. Join his family, his root family group. Give up any attachment to all others. And pay back the damage that you've done to the root family group. And we could talk about being saved. And the golden rule is being enforced right now. This is what Brexitdous is. The USA's most wanted is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So when, for 4 generations, 500 years in the United States of America, when the CIA and the FBI and when all of your police and all that created a flow, a pipeline of drugs from Nazi Germany, the number one drug addicts on the planet in the 1900s are the Germans. Adolf Hitler was such a drug addict. The Germans were such drug addicts. Then y'all simply outsourced your number one vice into the United States of America as the source of the flow of the drugs. Then put your fake authorities in place to police the pipelines and the black markets that you let your brothers and your sons and your daughters run through criminal organizations called the mobs. Once again, the Italians are Germans. Y'all know y'all worship system as above, so below. So y'all claim that y'all royals. Y'all claim y'all got the courts. Y'all claim y'all the police. And y'all also take the same oaths to be the criminal organizations on the bottom. Then you lure our people into coming and getting drugs from your brothers and your uncles and your fathers and your mothers. Then when ignorant, lazy coons sell out, they don't belong to us. The ignorant, lazy coon sellouts who just happen to have the same complexion. A blackamoor ain't never been a part of us. Our number one enemy is the blackamoor, who is a Philistine, an Egyptian, a present day Egyptian. They don't belong to us. And because they got sweetheart arrangements, the Moors got sweetheart treaties and sweetheart brotherhoods and sweetheart oaths with y'all fathers too in the black market. Y'all, they will never be allowed to be the authorities. They only are there to attach themselves and be the bridge into our community. So when our ignorant sons want to choose an easy life, that ain't an easy life, a slave life, then y'all use the blackamoor, who got the sweetheart deal, to entrap our sons. And whenever somebody got to go down in our community, it's going to be a person of color. It's going to be one of our sons. And the blackamoor and the German, the blackamoor and the German keep the pipeline going. And then the politicians, who are the brothers and sisters of these Italians, blackamoors, or Philistines, this is Gog and Magog. Greece and Rome, the black Greeks, the Greeks wasn't never. Fair-skinned Europeans wasn't never. Even in 1751, Benjamin Franklin himself states that the whole world is people of color. And the reason he came to the United States of America from Great Britain is because this is the only shot and the only place left for his Viking ancestors who moved into Britain to put their stamp on the world. And he testifies that America was already filled with people of color. But their goal was to erase the people of color in the United States of America and put their stamp on the United States of America, since the rest of the world has world history that everybody else knew about. He knew in 1751 and put it in the book that if we erase these people and take their lands, we can make this our home and then tell the story to the world. And because the world knows nothing about this legacy over here, this is our only shot to have a home. 1751, Europe is full of people of color. It's called Gog. Greece, Germany, Spain. Those are new European names after they whitewashed it. That's not what they were called before. They were called Ostrogoths and Visigoths, Vandals and the Hurleys. They were people of color. That's why he switched their names to the Dutch after they whitewashed. And even in the 1700s, they going through the process of interbreeding to try and whitewash, and they still full of mulattoes, Creoles, octoroons, mestizos. This means people of color of various different shades all throughout Europe, all throughout the world. So that whole thing that was just described, whenever an infrastructure like that is put in place, in the Western courts of law, you have been taking down my brothers and my sons, my uncles, my cousins, my family members, for having a criminal organization. And even when individuals who are way up in the criminal organization, and they're not actively in the public eye on the streets doing a hand-to-hand, because it is a criminal organization that is connected and everybody is profiting from that criminal organization. In your courts of law that have no authority, you have been holding my brothers and my sons accountable, my daughters, my sisters accountable, and locking everybody who is attached in any way to the money, to the planning, to the execution of any crime in any way, shape, or form. Meaning, if y'all seize a shitload of drugs, not just the individuals who were dropping off and receiving, it could have been 5, 10 people in a transaction. Y'all used the CIA and the FBI to create these laws so that y'all could take down the whole organization, anybody connected to that. Once you caught a group of individuals in the commission of a crime, you could go and get down anybody in that whole organization who helped plan it, who helps clean the money, who helps try and legitimize it by setting up front organizations, and then they bring the money into the front organizations so that you can try and legitimize your organization. You have created the very law that the Word of God says when He comes to do an accounting for every drop of blood, do unto others as you will have them do unto you, is the RICO Act that y'all have used against us. Our RICO Act is the golden rule. So let me read y'all exactly why even people in the 4th generation of Europeans, if your ancestors were doing this at any time, that includes Donald Trump, whose grandfather came here, ran a brothel with John D. Rockefeller, slaughtered and destroyed families, used women as chattel, threw them away, slaughtered them. Donald Trump, all of his children, all of his wives, The word of God says, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation. Donald Trump is only 3 generations from his grandfather. Then his father committed the same exact atrocities. Then he committed the same exact atrocities. So from all of his children, they got 4 generations worth of Trumps. Since their ancestors are still committing the same exact atrocities, visiting the iniquities for the next 500 years, Ivanka Trump, Barron Trump, Eric Trump, Jared Kushner, and every last one of y'all that live y'all lavish life based off of your ancestors benefiting. Some of y'all ancestors participated in the criminal organizations right with them. And then when you don't get outside of the 500-year window from your ancestors being in lynch mobs, when you ain't outside the 500-year window, he said, every drop of blood. There is no European family on earth that has taken the title of European, that the blood, let this blood that we shed be on us and our children. This is the statement that Rome has made with the Hebrews when they killed the Messiah. So this is why he says, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar. So when you choose not to take his God, the only way for this blood, there's only 2 covenants. It's a covenant and a contract. When you choose to be in their European world, you have chosen to be under the blood. Let this blood that we shed here today be on us and our children. What were they saying that for? Because they knew the law. The Hebrews knew the laws. They knew when you kill, you got to pay for the blood. And this is how dirty your ancestors are. This is how dirty your ancestors are. Instead of just abandoning their lives of lawlessness and accepting an opportunity they said, we're going to fight. We're going to rebel. That's always the spirit of Satan. We're going to rebel. So when you still have that same rebellious spirit against your fellow man, you cannot look at what has been done to people of color anywhere around the world and not accept this version of how it went down. Now let's read the golden rule that everybody is under from the past 2,000 years of the bloodshed. This is not a RICO Act. This is the golden rule. The Golden Rule Act is the only true God's law that provides for extended criminal penalties and a civil cause of action for acts performed as part of an ongoing criminal organization. The Golden Rule Act focuses specifically on racketeering and allows the leaders of leaders of a syndicate to be tried for the crimes they ordered others to do or assisted them in doing. Remember, the difference with this Golden Rule Act says, even if your father, if your father was the leader, and if your father assisted others in doing the crime, the Golden Rule, this Golden Rule has another clause. It's called a rider that extends the crime and the penalties to the third and fourth generation of their children, that they then sent off to Harvard and Yale. That they then sent, you've seen The Godfather. Michael Corleone took his little son and his daughter. You know, that's Ivanka Trump. That's Eric Trump. Michael Corleone is in the streets all day, every day, murdering, crimes, I want better for my kids. So I'm going to take this blood money. I'm going to take this blood money and I'm going to give you a better life. God said, not on my planet. The blood of Abel cries from the ground. Every drop of blood, every child, every grandchild, and every great grandchild. Y'all better man up. Because there's something on this side called grace that there's not on the other side. See, there's something on this side called grace. See, when you give up your claims, when you give up your claims to being European, when you accept your role that you got to pay for your ancestors doing that, the beautiful thing on the side of the Creator is his grace and his mercy. Once you put in the work to do right, there's still a reward. Just as valuable as the judgment on your head right now, there's still a reward on this side of the team. But y'all won't get busy in doing the work to right the wrong that your ancestors have done. And it ain't no negotiating. It ain't no softening the blow. Did y'all soften the blows when y'all was dangling our fathers from the trees? No. Y'all held your ancestors held whole lynching parties where the whole community came out and they was cutting pieces of our ancestors off, dragging them with the truck, stop, stab them, stop, shoot them, castrate them. This is all before y'all hang them, burn them, everything. If that ain't Satan, your ancestors have relished channeling the spirits of Satan. And then when it's time to pay up, everybody went like, so how should we right the wrong? The same intensity that y'all had channeling Satan. The same equal intensity that your ancestors have invested in satanic spirits, that same intensity you got to invest in saving lives. Everything that the Roman Catholic Church has never done, they nuns, prostitutes, and whores. Mother Teresa, slut. Every pope, the most demonic, satanic beings who have ever filled the earth. So all of the deeds that they claim they did, nothing but sexual abuse, nothing but they fake on the surface. So nothing has been done for 2,000 years. Christianity, sluts, whores, all day, every day. Pimping and prostituting people for profit and gain. That is what the Christian church is. Period. It is a daughter of Mystery Babylon. Every Christian church is a daughter of Mystery Babylon and is a part of this golden rule. All of them. None of them have the covenant that Paul and Peter had with the Most High God. No Christian church has any covenant. They all have a contract with present day Caesar, and the blood is on their head. And we trying to give y'all an opportunity for the first time to walk away from the Christian lying contract of death. And for the first time in your lifetime, pay reparations and begin the process of the cleanup. Whenever Hurricane Katrina comes through and it's a disaster, there's a cleanup that has to happen, right? 2,000 years, nobody has ever cleaned up this unnatural, satanic disaster. And the golden rule says 4 generations. 4 generations are on the hook in this cleanup and rebuilding effort. Because what y'all got in place right now ain't mine. The RICO Act focuses specifically on, the golden rule. The golden rule. Codes. The golden rule code violations. Capitalizing on dehumanization economically. The golden rule code violations focus specifically on racketeering and allow the leader of a syndicate to be tried for the crimes they ordered others to do or assisted them in doing. Closing a perceived loophole that allowed a person who instructed someone else, for example, to murder, to be exempt from the trial because they did not actually commit the crime personally. If you ordered it, if you had knowledge of it, if you participated, if you drove the murderer to the scene, if you are in the criminal organization anywhere and they have committed a murder, everybody in the organization. Now just think about that with the drug operation in the United States of America, which is owned and operated by Europeans. They even brought cocaine and heroin in the Vietnam War back in the bodies of sons that they forced. Dr. Martin Luther King was against. They killed Dr. Martin Luther King. They tried to force Muhammad Ali. He objected, and they forced people all throughout our communities to go and fight for a war that got nothing to do with us. Then when our ancestors died in a war that we are on record, y'all killed and slaughtered our ancestors in your fake civil war to take the country. Y'all killed and slaughtered our people in a world war that we ain't had nothing to do just because y'all was threatened by our growth in our population and y'all wanted to purge people of color. So y'all put us on the front line in World War I that had nothing to do with us. Did the same thing in World War II when our people in the country, continent that y'all call Africa, which ain't Africa. And them same nations that sat at the table and colonized Africa, they don't tell you that the French and the British pulled African soldiers from their colonies to fight in World War II. Nobody tells y'all about that. World War I and World War II were just to purge people of color. Purge people of color. Hellenism. To eradicate the densely populated people of color in Europe, especially. What better way to whitewash your population than cause a fake war and then exterminate the very people so you could take the land? So the people of color who were royals and nobles in Germany, in Britain, in France, in Scotland, in Ireland, the black nobles and royals we don't care nothing about them. We don't care nothing about the fact that they slaughtered those families, because the blackamoors, after they built Europe, they agreed in a treaty to go down and slaughter Africa leading up to 1885 so that they can move their colonies from Europe to Africa. So the people of color in Europe didn't have the treaty, didn't have the agreement and the contract with the Europeans. All of the families who were the top royals agreed to go to Africa because it's more resources, it's more land, it's more wealth. So the treaties left Europe, but for 800 years, they had been having offspring in Europe. They had family members in Europe. They owned the lands in Europe. They were the aristocrats in Europe. They were the professionals and the educated people. But the peasant Europeans who were studying the sciences of Egypt, now they like, yo, we know these sciences just as good as you do. So when the nobles, the black Philistine nobles, go back down into the continent where they originally came from, we don't have a treaty with their offspring and their brothers and sisters and all of the millions of people that they done left behind. So we're going to put our sons and our daughters as the aristocrats. But how do you kill millions of people and take millions of people's lands without doing it under the cover of world wars, civil wars? You can't. Then because you document the history, you could tell the story however you want to tell it. You could call 3 and 4 and 5 different Germanic nations. Yo, come over here. First, we're going to slaughter the people of color in Britain first. So the Dutch, the Russians, they call it the Franco-Prussian War. Yeah, all right. Then they say, okay, we need to clean out Italy. So France come, Britain come. They claim they got 3 or 4. They claim they got 2 or 3 Germanic nations on one side, and they claim they got 2 or 3, and they all focused on killing the people of color and taking their lands and then sitting down at the table and chopping up how they gonna divide the lands and boom, boom, boom. That's what they've been doing all throughout history. Then in the treaty, they tell how they gonna tell the story. You know how criminals do. When they chopping up the money, they like, okay, if the police come around, we got to get our story together. Come on, man. You done seen all of these crime movies. When they chopping up the loot that they done caught a caper, they done robbed the bank, they done whatever. All right, let's get our story straight. This the story we gonna tell, and this we gonna stick to it. It's called European history. So then they tell, okay, we, the French and the British, we were on one side fighting against Milan, Italy, and Spain. And the war lasted for 5 years, and about 10,000 lives were lost. And this is the page, the chapter in European history where the French and the British fought against the Italian, Milan, and Spain. We call it the 7 Years' War. Milan, Spain, Italy, France, Britain. We'll just go down into Italy together, pull all of their resources together. And whatever families that weren't aligned in their brotherhoods, their oaths, who didn't share their pagan faiths, who had received the knowledge of the one and only God from apostles like Paul and them, they were at the mercy of these wannabe kings. Used to be barbarians, now they want to be kings. And now they're joining together now that they have swords and spears and they got science from Egypt of how to make even greater weapons. Crimes they ordered others to do or assisted them in doing, closing a perceived loophole that allowed a person who instructed someone else, for example, to murder, to be exempt from the trial because they did not actually commit the crime personally. The golden rule was enacted in Genesis chapter 9. I will require an accounting for every drop of blood. He who sheds human blood, he who sheds the blood of man, blood will be shed by man. God didn't say he was going to, just so y'all know, I'm not making it up. Just so y'all know. Just so all of y'all who fell for this Western European lie and now y'all greatest hope is to be accepted as a European, just understand, let their blood be on us and our children. So when you check that box, especially our people down in our so-called countries that Spain formed. The Catholic Church used the Spanish crown to launch the colonies of the West. On paper, the treaty was with the Spanish crown, on paper. for all of the West. And for each human being, so you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood, anybody who is alive, I will surely demand an accounting for your lifeblood. This is Genesis 9, verse 5. I will demand an accounting from every animal. Animals never killed humans. Y'all want to talk about climate change? The Greeks and the Romans are such animals that the animals today have the spirit of Greece and Rome. Lions, bears, all of them never devoured flesh. Every being that was created honored the lifeblood in every being. This is why God called them help meets when he created them in Genesis 1 and 2. Help meets. Cain had a son named Tubal-Cain, and he is the father of Greece and Rome. Tubal-Cain created the first swords, the first spears. He was the first person to take and create a forge and forge in heat and fire weapons of mass destruction. Not only did he kill people and his sons and daughters kill people, they went on to begin to hunt animals. The original family of God that is in the covenant of God never hunted. And only the lambs who don't defend themselves were the only animals, clean animals. They were clean because they were vegetarians and they had the same, they represented the same docile spirit. Because the creator didn't want to cause the chain reaction of having animals running around because of the atonement system then attacking human beings. And so when human beings introduce, when satanically led individuals, Cain killed Abel, introduced that into and changed the climate of earth. Changed the climate of earth. And the demons that got cast out of heaven fed on that blood, fed on that death, and required Cain and his children to give more blood and more death, shed more blood. And every time they shed blood, the fallen demonic angels fed on that spirit and required more and more blood. Then Cain's son Tubal-Cain became the master hunter, the mass murderer. This is why God sent the flood. And so after sending the flood to wipe away those mass murderers, those mass hunters, he is now telling the animals and the 4 families that will come out of the ark, let me make sure that you know that this covenant Any blessing that you receive from me is contingent on these clauses that I set forth, and they are everlasting. You're not just going to be blessed just because you are alive. And listen, this is contingent on you sealing this deal and covenant. And these are the stipulations. When you walk out of this ark, violate these stipulations, and just like I came and cleaned the earth before, I'm not cleaning it with water. I'm cleaning it with fire. And when I send my righteous, I am going to have individuals who are filled with my spirit. Just like you're going to be filled with Satan's spirit, I will raise up judges who will be filled with my spirit, who will have the authority to take your life. This is why David, after this, was able to kill Goliath. Before, when Cain killed Abel, before the flood, God told the brothers of Abel, Adam and Eve went on to have Seth and many, many, many more sons and daughters. God told the people before the flood, I'm marking Cain and his children. Do not retaliate. They shed so much blood before the flood that God put his first responders, his military, his serve and protect his covenant and the people in his covenant. That's when God he created judges, righteous judges. Your fraternal order of police is why I keep telling my people, you cannot go and join the fraternal order of police. The fraternal order of police are the descendants of Tubal-Cain, who slaughtered and killed people in the covenant. God is establishing his court of law on earth. From the heavenly court, he is putting it in place on earth, that when people try and do the same thing that they did before the flood, after the flood, there will be judgment. And he says he will always have a remnant who will have his spirit, who will be able to judge on earth. They have never taught y'all this because they are Tubal-Cain and they worship Satan. The fake Hebrews, the Muslims, the Christians, the Buddhists, every form of religion that you have that is not this covenant is a satanic one. This is why he told you there's nothing new under the sun. So you wouldn't have to go back and erase all of this programming, because this is right here in the book. You just allowed individuals to put a tradition in place called a liturgy. And because your grandparents taught it to your parents, and then they taught it to you, and then you call yourself getting conscious and thinking for yourself, and then you walked away from that tradition and walked right into another fake tradition. You walked from one fake tradition into another fake tradition. Our people walk from the original fake tradition that their grandparents and their parents teach them in, and then they go pick up another one, yoga and Hinduism, and they call that enlightenment. Our people walk from Baptist or Methodist or Pentecostal, and then they go and become Jehovah's Witness. The same people who created the Baptists and Methodists created the Jehovah's Witness, the Roman Catholic Church. The same people who created the Jehovah's Witness created the Church of Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints, the Roman Catholic Church. The same people who created the Church of Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints created the Nation of Islam, the Roman Catholic Church. The same people who created the Nation of Islam created the Hebrew Israelites, the Roman Catholic Church. And every time our people say, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness no more. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. We the true chosen children of God. No, you still the satanic Tubal Cain just because you ain't studied. Why? What's the mistake our people get making? He said there's nothing new under the sun. So when you don't go to in the beginning, we are in the beginning. In the beginning, that's it. Whenever you try and pick up Nation of Islam, talking about Farah Muhammad, 1920, the earth is over. God said on the cross, it is finished. How you aligning yourself with something in 1920 and he said it is finished? The men of Nineveh will judge this final generation. If he's in the final generation speaking, how are you coming in 1920 and aligning yourself with some trash then? If he said it is finished, then could Muhammad receive visions from Allah and Allah be God in 600 AD if it is finished? And if 500 years before he said it is finished, he told Daniel, the same God that came down and saw Daniel, is the same God that died, rose, came out of the grave, all authority is given. And he said in John 17, Father, I have finished the work. Now give me back the joy that I had with you before the world began, in the beginning. John 17. Any Muslim, anybody, because they quote the word of God to y'all anyway. They claim Abraham, your responsibility was to go to the same word that they're quoting from. Every single faith across the world has been built off of perverting and distorting the biblical word of God. Hinduism is all built on the golden rule that I'm talking about right here today. That's all Hinduism is. Karma, ain't no such thing as karma. They bit that. What I'm telling you, Genesis chapter 9 is karma. They reverse engineered this text. This is the text where they got karma from. They built a whole religion by reverse engineering. Buddha ain't had no spiritual connection to nothing but Satan. Hindus ain't got no spiritual connection to nothing but Satan. Their whole religion is built off of this text right here. Every last one of y'all who got deceived because they used the word of God, you're supposed to go to the word of God and then validate, because he said don't add nothing to. So when they take these texts and then they add all of the other lies of the religion, you're supposed to throw it all out, trash. When they take Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Adam, and put it in Islam, and then when they add to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and when the same spirit that Adam and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, when Muhammad and all of his followers don't add up to that, that means Adam, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob are not a part of their worship system. They condemn those who worship God in a different spirit. Adam is not a part of Islam. Abraham, Muhammad is not a part of Islam. It's a different spirit. And they talking about they punishing the infidel when they got their belief system from Emperor Constantine in 300. He created Islam in 300 before Muhammad was given the book. Zoroaster is the God that Allah is found in. and the high priest of Allah are the Vikings. Valhalla, Odin is the god who is the god Allah, Odin of the Vikings. From 300 to 600, Constantine went up and made a contract with the Vikings to come down into Saudi Arabia and the Middle East in a slave trade. And the people of color brought the wealth and the slaves to the Vikings, who then became the Arabs of Saudi Arabia. 300 years before Muhammad. This is a Roman Caesar, goes and gets his cousins in Germany. The Roman Caesar, Emperor Constantine, his headquarters was in Britain. He goes across the Rhine River, gets the Vikings, the Germans. He moves his headquarters to modern day Turkey. This same Emperor Constantine creates Constantinople. The Byzantine Empire, this is the Muslim capital of the world. Roman Catholic. Emperor Constantine created Constantinople, created Turkey, present day Syria, Damascus. Damascus is where Paul, the apostle, was called to do the work. So they erased the history of Paul. They erased the ministry of Paul with the Vikings, with the Byzantine Empire, with Islam. Muhammad was raised up to erase Paul. Islam was created to erase the ministry of the Apostle Paul. All the work that Apostle Paul did, Constantine set he set up the Western Christian church remained in York. So he creates the Catholic Church. He was the one who transferred it from pagan Rome to papal Roman Catholicism, Emperor Constantine. And then he went over and he created Islam, the Byzantine Empire, off of a god that he got from the Persians. The Persians had worshipped Allah and many other gods in the pantheon of Zoroaster going back thousands of years. Stop playing with me. And any people in the world who enter into Islam are Germans first, are Roman Caesar first, and God said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar and God that which is God. So can Allah be the one true God? Can Allah be who they trying to tell you that Allah is? Listen, I am just telling you the truth of history. You can't get mad at me because Constantine lied and said he became a Christian and then went and set up Islam. It's documented fact. Where you get Constantinople from? Come on, y'all can't listen. You can't erase Constantinople. You can't erase the Byzantine Empire. That Constantine, there's no Constantinople and Byzantine Empire. That is Islam. Before there was a Saudi Arabia as the headquarters, Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire, they were still worshiping in it because the idol of Zoroaster, the idol was always there. They was always taking the pilgrimages there, but the Romans ruled the world. The Muslims ain't ruled the world. They were subjects just like the Hebrews were subject to Rome. They not first, they are offspring. It's just that Rome wanted to use that new religion to attack the work that Paul did, and they used it effectively. But they cannot talk like they are a standalone entity, like they religion. Listen, the Roman Caesars gave them the mandate, the authority, the permission to slaughter and destroy all of the work that the Apostle Paul did. Constantinople. It's the same thing that Alexander the Great did 600 years before. Constantine only copied what Alexander and Julius Caesar did. Go down into Egypt, set up shop, study the Egyptian mystery religions, and war against the everlasting gospel. So that's where climate change came in after the Messiah gave his gospel. I'm just showing you that Greece and Rome have been, this is why God labeled them Gog and Magog. They have been going and doing this before the flood, after the flood. After he calls Abraham, gives Abraham his gospel, they come out of Babylonian captivity. Here come Gog and Magog again. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. Boom. The Messiah come, clean it up. Here come Gog and Magog again. Now they got fake Roman Catholicism. They got Islam. But God got a golden rule on the books. And it says, and for your lifeblood, I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal and from each human being too. Each and every animal and every human being shed blood. It's 5,000 years before Muhammad. It's 5,000 years before the crusade. And when you accept the lie on either side of those crusading forces that slaughtered the work that the Apostle Paul did, this blood, this golden rule applies. So that's when you have to become the prodigal son first, Good Samaritan second. Prodigal son gets out of the pig's pen, leaves the fold of faith, the lie that you was in. That's why he gave you the parable of the prodigal son. I gave you the wealth through Paul. You went out into a far distant land and you accepted Christianity, or you accepted Islam, or you accepted Buddhism, or you accepted whatever, and you squandered your inheritance. Now you have no inheritance. Now you're separated from the kingdom. And then you're able to be enslaved because now you got to eat, you got to live, but you're separated from your blessings. Now you're equal to pigs. You're equal to the fallen demons that got cast out of the kingdom. You're equal to Satan. You and Satan are on equal footing. But the difference between Satan and you is you can come home. He can't. The prodigal son, it said he came to his senses. Don't matter how demon possessed you are. When he said, let this mind be in you, that is also in higher than man's human thoughts, is God's ideal for his children. He said, you always got control of your mind, no matter how demon possessed you are, with whatever drugs, whatever prostitution, no matter, you could always come back to your senses and make a choice and say, yo, this ain't my life. This ain't my father's life. This is the pig bastard, Satan's life. And I can go get a better one. And he constantly said, the servants in my father's house live better than this. I'll go ask my father, yo, I know I violated, I don't have no inheritance. Can I at least work? The father accepts him. Then later on, he goes and gives a parable of the Good Samaritan. Who you think the Good Samaritan is? Who you think the Good Samaritan is? The prodigal son coming to do the work of the kingdom. So now when the spiritual leaders when the Roman Catholic Church, when the Christian church, when the Muslims are profiting off of slaughter and stepping over the people, this is what the Good Samaritan story was about. There was a road where thugs would prey on people traveling on the road. It's just like our inner cities. They've invested in these gangs. They've invested in these. We got guns on every corner. We got drugs. We got alcohol. They've created the murderous environment that we got to walk up and down every day, go back and forth, boom, boom, boom. They invested in it. These same priests that are stepping over, they the ones who invested in the thugs on the road. And then the thugs, when they get the cut, just like the Catholic Church, they'll go into the synagogue and they'll pay tithe on the blood money. They'll go into T.D. Jakes' church and sit down and give T.D. Jakes to try and whitewash their guilt. And the Catholics taught Christianity that this is cool. And God's parable is saying that the Catholics got it from the Hebrews. The Hebrews did this system first. And then who comes and fixes the situation? The same prodigal son that returned home. That say, yo, I'm gonna go and do the service of, listen, I done already violated and threw away my inheritance. This is the price of reparation. This is what he tried to tell the rich young ruler. What must I do to be saved? Yo, you got to come out of the pig's pen, bro. Yeah, you're a Hebrew. You're a Babylonian, idolatrous, ignorant. You're identical to where Abraham was when I called him. And Abraham had to do what I'm telling you got to do for me to change his name and bless him. And the rich young ruler said, that's too much. That's too high of a price to pay. And you get to make that decision too. But we're just letting you know that it's either that or this golden rule that's over your head. It's the two options you got. Either pay the price for the damage that your ancestors did, or be prepared to meet this fate. And for each human being too, I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood by humans, they run around here and they got y'all believing only God can judge me. The golden rule says, whoever sheds human blood, God says he will take accounting by his faithful judges. And then on earth, before he left, before he laid down his life, before he let them kill him, he said, when y'all kill me, I am telling you who my judges are, who are going to come and pay you back for shedding my blood. The men of Nineveh. That's where my ancestors is from. The men of Nineveh will judge this final generation. Where's Nineveh? The same place that Emperor Constantine erased when he put up Constantinople and they changed it to Turkey. They cut Assyria off of Syria. And they claim that these Vikings, these German Vikings, live in the land of Syria. It's not Syria, it's Assyria. And the capital of Assyria is Nineveh. You can't erase our ancestry. Damascus. They couldn't even he wouldn't even let them change the name. They still call it Damascus to this day. Damascus is a testimony and a rebuke to the whole Middle East. To your whole fake Middle East. It's a rebuke. And that fake war in the Middle East and all that blood that y'all have shed, so that the British and them could go down and slaughter our brothers and sisters in Africa. That's all the Middle East. The Middle East was job to do was to erase what the Messiah did in Jerusalem, in Jordan. All Islam's job is to do is all of the record in the headquarters where the gospel was sent out. Great Britain's job after World War II was to erase the headquarters where the gospel went out. And they set up every Muslim nation that you know with the blessing of the Catholic Church. Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Yemen. Every single, their whole job to put fake Hebrews and fake Muslims in the Middle East on top of each other is, while the whole world who ain't going over there believe that they warring against each other, they are collectively erasing the tracks of the gospel and then rebuilding their idolatrous system on top of the tracks of the gospel. The Muslim put their idol mosques, the Christians put their idol cathedrals. They systematically have gone to every place, every significant place, erased the original and put a pagan idol in its place. Why? Because that's how God waged war against Satan. Whenever God freed his children from idolatry, he had his children tear down their shrines, their Bohemian groves. The shrine is where Satan worships. You go into the church, you're going into a shrine. Every church you go into, when they build it Freemasonically and they turn it into a shrine, a Freemasonic shrine, a satanic shrine. Every church you go into. They purposely go through a ceremony and they had the Freemasons come out and curse the laying of the foundation and the cornerstone of every one of your churches. And they make it a shrine. And God, when he cleansed the land, he always told Hezekiah, David, Joash, Everybody. Destroy the high places. Destroy the shrines. That's first. That's the first thing in spring cleaning and cleaning the house. Destroy the Washington Monument. Destroy it. The George Washington Monument. Destroy it. They're all their gods. To the people that have channeled their gods, first thing you got to do is destroy every shrine. And all of them churches that you worship in are shrines. And Ezekiel is a whole book. If you want to know how God feels about your worship system, Ezekiel is a whole book where the children of Israel had brought the Babylonian worship into God's temple. And it doesn't matter that David built that sanctuary. The moment that you bring the Babylonian worship, it is a shrine to God. And God destroyed that temple several times because it is not holy when you defile it with idol worship. When your leaders lead you into idolatry, you are a follower of idolatry. Aaron's sons did it. Eli's sons did it to Israel. Over and over and over and over. The book of Judges is the whole children of Israel in the sanctuary every week, and God is not with Israel at all in the whole book of Judges. Ezekiel is the same thing. Judges and Ezekiel, same thing. Judges is just before David. Ezekiel is after David. Same thing. But this is the law, the everlasting law that everybody's going to be judged on. Don't matter how you feel about it. Don't matter if you believe in it or not. Don't matter what you think. It ain't got nothing to do with none of that. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. God said this, Satan said something else. And everybody on earth is choosing their side. This is what God said on this issue, period, full stop. Satan, through other individuals, said something else. So that's a matter of faith. Whether you call it Buddha as the authority, that is a faith. You chose to believe. An authority outside of yourself, and the fact that you have direct access to God to confirm the faith that you chose to believe in. This is what faith is supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to look through history and hear something that somebody said, God said, and then your personal relationship today is supposed to confirm. Is God saying the same thing to me that he said to them? That's what faith is. When you unify yourself, everybody is choosing to decide to follow somebody outside of yourself who has created a spiritual system. Even if you are saying you don't believe in God, Satan created that belief, that non-belief system. God has said something, and then Satan created a non-belief system. So you ain't even the authority in that. That's a faith in Satan. So no matter where you go, and you just said, today I have the same spirit confirming the same spirit that Satan had when he said, I'm a non-believer. And then if you believe in a different system somewhere else in the world, you're saying, I agree with the spirit of the person who created this non-belief system in that part of the world, and I am attracted to that because I have the same spirit, so that is my faith. And that's okay. You have the right to do that. I'm just letting you know that God has said this, and this supersedes anything that anybody else ever said. And you may not believe that, but I guarantee you that the day is coming when you're going to see that you wasted and squandered your life believing and attaching yourself to somebody who took 30 pieces of silver to deceive you, just like Judas. Every last one of these faith are individuals, are Judas, who signed up for individuals under demonic control to start another narrative and another faith contrary to this, what the Creator is saying. And ITB, give me back the joy that I had with you before the world began. That was before Satan was created, before Lucifer and any other angel in the angelic host. Give me back the joy that I had with you before the world began. No matter what y'all do, no matter what y'all say, y'all can't get in front of ITB, your evolution. Why? Because there is a man on earth that created an evolutionary theory. And we have the date to prove it, 1844. So when you try and use evolution, and when you try and like these ignoramuses, the world goes back 300,000, no, the Son of God goes back millions of years with the Father. Give me back the joy that I had. You clowns wasn't around then. This is the Creator of the heavenly host and earth saying to his Father before he created any of those things, give me back the joy that I had with you. That is just another European way of saying that they are God. When they say evolution, this is Satan putting his people as God in the beginning. That's all evolution does. When Europeans claim we were here millions of years, that's just another way of saying we are God. We're the Creator. That's all Caesar's claim was. God, priest, king. All evolution is a claim that humans are God. I could tell you how this thing happened because, and they can't, none of them none of their stories add up. Because the only people who were there, give me, the Son of God, back the joy that I had with you before the world was created. There is no world. There is no earth. There is no tadpoles. There is no Lucy. There is no Neanderthals. Cavemen are Cain when he got cursed by God for killing Abel. That's who the cavemen are. Europeans, the Greeks and Romans. That's who cavemen are. And while the cavemen was cursed, Noah and Enoch was walking with God, blessed, flourishing, land filled with milk and honey. And then they turn around and they write books about a city called Atlantis. Ain't no city of Atlantis. Enoch and Noah and Methuselah and Adam and Seth. While Cain was running around as a Neanderthal, he had to watch as Adam's seed walked with God. They built the earth. They replenished the earth. Ain't no Atlantis. It's the sons of God. Ain't no fallen beings. Satan and his fallen beings had to watch through Cain and Cain's fallen children as God's blessed, righteous, faithful people built the greatest structures. And then when Cain tried to go and try and build because he not blessed, y'all get Paris and London and Germany and New York. Y'all get this trash. Poverty, sickness, death, disease, birth defects. Mental illness. Talking about y'all superior. The most inferior, ignorant clowns ever. I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. United States of America, we ain't allowing no more shed blood. We letting y'all know the audit begins October the 30th, 2020. So if y'all want to seal a covenant, if y'all want to do the prodigal son, you got a couple days. You got a couple days. You got a couple days to go through the process. But when they try and shed blood under this new administration, whoever it is, from here on out, just like King Cyrus was called at a specific time in history to bring Babylon down, we're letting you know that the U.S. no longer exists. The Vatican, London, no longer exist. Whoever, telling you the same biblical reactions that they got in Egypt. When God sent individuals like us, by human shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind. He's giving you the reason why your blood will be shed by humans. And I'm not even saying we're going to do it. God's number one way to fight against the enemies of God, listen to me. He causes the enemy to fall on themselves. God's number one weapon. Because see, God's children got a habit of taking credit for stuff. So God, when he wages war, he uses humans, but he confounds the enemy and he causes them to fall on themselves. This is why we're telling you to get out of their military, get out of their police, get out of their schools, get out of their businesses, get out of their churches. Listen, he is going to cause the spirit of Satan. When the spirit of Satan tries to pull the trigger on the everlasting gospel of God, the only target that will be allowed, the only blood from this point forward that is allowed to be shed on earth is the blood of those who have not come back home and got cleaned up. The only blood that will be spilled is the blood of those who have to pay reparations. If your ancestors have been involved in this system, if you currently are involved in this system, if your ancestors was Freemasons and you still Freemasons and you ain't got the sense enough to know that the way that they manage this system is through Freemasonry. All Freemasonry is the Egyptian priesthood given a European name. It's the Egyptian priesthood, the sacrificial, blood-shedding Egyptian priesthood founded in 1717 in London, where they officially made it official that this is our priesthood now. Now all you people of color will go through us to practice your old priesthood and sacrificial system, but we are the authority now. You do homage. So in order for you to make money, you have to take an oath to our priesthood and you have to be subject to us. It's called fealty. You have to pledge your fealty to us, the German. And all of y'all people of color, these Germans get to slaughter your people for you to financially move up ladders or whatever, and the blood is on your head. You got a couple days to walk away from it. You got a couple days to do the rich young ruler. Give up every dues, listen, you ain't got to go and spill your secrets. The master said, what must I do to be saved? He said, give up everything. He was in that same mystery religion. This is the price. He was in the Babylonian mystery system, but going into the Hebrew sanctuary and faking like he had a covenant with God. And God said, you can't fake around here with me. You can't have no parts of that mystery Egyptian Babylonian worship system and not go nowhere with me. And 40 years after that, just like God told him, your house is left to you desolate. When you see the army surrounding Jerusalem, know that destruction is nigh. Did Rome want to destroy Jerusalem? No. Rome wanted to keep using Israel to tap into their power. That's the most potent black magic. Israel. But I'm telling you, God's number one weapon against those who shed the blood of his people is to have those very groups who are shedding the blood of his people fall on each other and destroy each other. And he gonna save the Greco-Romans for last. All of y'all who are pledging allegiance to them, all of y'all who are in their fraternities, y'all gonna be the ones getting slaughtered. And he gonna save the leader, the very leaders, for last, for himself. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. And the Romans fell on the Hebrews. This is the same two groups that 30 years later killed the Messiah. We serve no God but Caesar. So that same Caesar fell on those individuals. They said, let his blood be on us and our children. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. So what about when you shed divine blood? What you think the price is for shedding divine blood? Huh? What do you think the price is for shedding the blood of the children that God said, all authority in heaven and earth is given to me? Now I give it to you. Go out, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. This gospel shall be preached in all the world, and then the end shall come. What is the price? If shedding human blood is not divine blood, The price is even greater for this Western world, and all of y'all who are on the bottom of it, bottom feeding off of this system. I'm telling you right now, DC is surrounded. By the angels of the four horsemen of Revelation. The four horsemen of Revelation reap pestilence, death, and destruction on earth by turning the very spirits that demon possess individuals to war against God, to turn those spirits. Those are the same spirits that got cast out by these heavenly angels. And when these heavenly angels come as the four horsemen to earth, this is the chapter. This is the legacy of the four horsemen. The four horsemen are the army that we ride with. The four horsemen of death and destruction is judgment on all of those for this right here. This is the accounting that he's talking about. Cast your vote. Go out there in the mayhem that they're trying to orchestrate. They're trying to cause another French Revolution. They toppled the French government and they put a new government of fascism in place. The United States of America is being taken through the French Revolution. It was a Roman Catholic, it was a fake Roman Catholic nation beforehand. Then they went through the French Revolution and they put a whore and made the whore the Queen of France, and then sent a Statue of Liberty to the United States of America to say this same whore is the one that we're colonizing the United States in. But they came and they said, we're a Christian nation. So all of this time, they're saying we've been faking Christianity, but now we're going to take the United States through the same revolution that we took France through to come out of the closet and worship how we truly want to worship. And the people of the covenant who are supposed to receive the gospel and then the end shall come, they are the targets that have to be enslaved, controlled, destroyed. That's why they got these fascist white nationalists in the White House called Donald Trump, and in right-wing conservative Christianity, with all of these idle fake threats. If Donald Trump don't get in, we going to war. Let's go, because you warring against the four horsemen of Revelation. You're warring against pestilence. You're warring against the right hand of God. Come sit down until I make all of your enemies your footstool. Let's go. Bloodshedders. Vote for it if you want. Vote for it and not come and find out how you go through the process like the prodigal son, like the rich young ruler. More importantly, like David, erased Saul's contract with Satan and entered into the covenant with God, and all of the people was blessed. While the Philistines and everybody around was under the judgment of the Most High God. This is the same period that he's taking you through right now. Right now. Not next year, right now. October the 30th. We're going to go through the same exact covenant that David went through. And everybody who touches and agrees will represent the United States of America, will stand as the sovereign ambassadors of the United States of America. No matter what other nation pledges their allegiance to Rome or whatever, the United States of America, October 30th, we're going to seal the covenant, and the whole world is on notice. Y'all can play them games anywhere else. If y'all want to continue playing that global citizens game with Rome, and y'all want to continue playing that Holocaust game against the 4 horsemen of Revelation, y'all can go somewhere else and do that. We're going to do what we need to do to let understand the angel of death passed over the children of Israel in Goshen that put the blood over the doorpost. We're going to do the covenant that's going to allow the 4 horsemen of Revelation to know when they ride against their enemies with the pestilence and the death, when they cause the enemy to fall on each other. We don't mind Germans and blackamoors destroying each other. We don't mind. Go knock yourselves out. Y'all just not going to get our people worked up into a frenzy to go out there on the streets, and then they gonna go back into their Freemasonic lodge and they gonna watch on TV as y'all get slaughtered. This is what they setting y'all up for. They talk the rhetoric. They got their people. They got these channels. They got these Roman Catholic Jesuits who are on the front lines masquerading as rappers. Tekashi 6ix9ine, 21 Savage. That's what the Jesuits do. That's a Jesuit priest. They come in as a disguise. Akon, Jesuit, Roman Catholic Jesuit. All these people on the front line, Black Lives Matter, Jesuits. Donald Trump, all of these right-wing evangelicals. And then the Jesuits, they come in amongst, and they start these little groups on the ground, factions on the ground, and they inciting. They got all of the plugs on the weapons. So them niggas got weapons. They got guns. They got the niggas in the Black Lives Matter. Now all of a sudden, niggas got access to AR-15s. Now y'all got access to it. Every group you go into, the Black Panther Party had access too. Right before they slaughtered them. And then the very people who put Black Lives Matter together, George Soros, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. Why they not on the front lines? That's who created your organizations. Because the goal is for them to keep collecting their 30 pieces of silver, your children have to be slaughtered. You're the sacrifice. If the movement had any merit, the people who funded it would be on the front lines, right? Donald Trump talked tough from the White House. But when it all go down, he's going to be in some bunker. He's going to be flying away on some helicopter. He talked tough against China, but all his money is behind China because he's a slave to the Rockefellers and the Rothschild. Donald Trump has been supporting China financially all his life. He talks, he is an actor. And y'all gonna throw y'all lives away. Barack Obama was an actor. You ain't getting nothing from Barack. You got same thing from Barack that you got from the Bushes. Nothing. They're all actors on the wrong side of this script. The script has been written. Gog and Magog end up in the flames. I'm telling you about who Gog and Magog is. All I'm telling you is to get yourself out of the way of Gog and Magog, because Gog and Magog don't only end up in the flames. Their followers get 7 plagues. Their followers are slaughtered by the 4 horsemen of Revelation. Their followers, the most painful, heinous death. All of the judgment that God has done throughout history on the defiant nations of earth. In one generation are going to fall on this generation of these pagans. You've been warned. You have been warned. I'm going to read it to you for one last time. And for your lifeblood, I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal and from each human being too. I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind. They wage war against God by killing God's people. They wage war against God by sacrificing God's children. This is the war that's going on. And God said, not another one of mine will fall. This is what we're telling you. October the 30th. Not another Hollywood ritual, not another NBA ritual, not another NFL satanic blood sacrifice, not another pedophile sex trafficking, not another, not one of God's children who the desires of their heart is to be saved. Not one of the desire. Listen, God said, I have heard the cries of my children and I have come down. Go tell them to let my people go. You are on notice. Abandon your satanic rituals. Abandon the satanic brotherhoods, sororities, fraternities. Abandon them because they are, listen, they are going to do those things up until God comes. That's why they're going to end up in the lake. But between now and then, the judgments for shedding blood have to be accounted for. And if during the audit you try and shed blood, you will be made an example of. You will be made an example of. Goliath was made an example of before the Philistines got routed. All right. So here is the criminal conspiracy that y'all all, here is the criminal conspiracy. And every time they shed blood, the blood is on your, this is the criminal conspiracy that golden rule Rico, I just told you. Let me remind you. The Golden Rule Code Violation Act is the only God, USA supernatural law that provides for extended criminal penalties and civil action. And God already described what the penalties in action is. For those who shed blood, your blood will be shed. For those who have robbed the poor, give up everything you have and give it to the poor. This is what he told the rich young ruler. Give everything that you have. There is no more Vatican Bank. All of these individuals on this screen have forfeited their wealth. They forfeited their companies. They forfeited their businesses, all of their holdings, all of their offshore accounts, any treaty that they have, any trade agreements that they have forfeited. And every impoverished person in every colonial nation, anybody who has ever suffered poverty because of the Western European system, these people's wealth and anybody who does business with them is being transferred to their people through this audit. This is called the blood audit. The USA's most wanted, Gog and Magog blood audit. Acts performed as part of an ongoing criminal organization. The Golden Rule Code Violation Act focuses specifically on racketeering and allows the leaders of a syndicate to be tried. And everybody a part of the criminal organization, everybody who has allowed the racketeering is the black market trade, the trade where the money flows because of the activities of the criminal organization. Everybody in the pipeline of the flow of money going into their coffers is specifically tried under the Golden Rule. A person who has committed at least 2 acts of racketeering activity drawn from a list of over 60, 70 crimes. So it don't matter where you fall in this pipeline of this system. Bill Gates is actively using the World Health Organization and going and sterilizing people of color in third world countries. And then when you join with the political party, the Democrats, who have supported that liberal agenda, and the Republicans who have bankrolled and financed it, see, they make the Democrats be the face because liberalism goes against the fake principles that they're trying to stand on as evangelical Christians. So they fund it and they make the Democrats claim it. They're all guilty. The World Health Organization is sterilizing our people. That's killing our people. That's shedding blood. And when you vote for this under Obama, under all of them who have done this, when you cast your vote to continue allowing that system to target our people, that is the criminal organization that's being addressed. The World Health Organization is a leading criminal in this Golden Rule crime. And you, as U.S. citizens, are giving the DC criminals power to keep operating. Instead of standing against the oppression of the Philistines, DC is the Philistines, who have tried to set up shop in your land. And all you simply are supposed to say is, yo, we band together in the thousands, in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions to say, all of y'all got to get out of here. All of these activities, the World Health Organization is gone. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, they get our third world countries to borrow loans from them. So that's why they're in debt. So they don't let them trade. They don't let them do nothing. And then they prey on them, sending their gun. So as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank get them as debtor nations, then the European colony people come in, set up shop like, yo, you owe the International Monetary Fund. So we're going to come in. We're going to take your oil. We're going to take your diamonds. That is a criminal racketeer. They are all connected. The World Health Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, and all of these individuals are criminals. And they could not do what they was doing if you wasn't going and saying, yo, because Barack Obama is black, I'm going to vote for this. Listen, Dr. Martin Luther King said, yo, we ain't with them niggas. Dr. Martin Luther King was trying to create a United States of America that's separate from the pirates that came here wanting to create a new world. And we finally going to put the separation. It is not of God what the U.S. has done since 1871 when they put D.C. and began. Less than 15 years later, they sat down at the table and carved up Africa, and the U.S. and the whole world began slaughtering our people, and they had to pay for that blood. And if you say that you want the U.S., if you say you a U.S. citizen on November the 3rd, after having the knowledge to stand with people who say, when you've done it unto the least of these, my brothers, you've done it unto me. What you got to understand is they are waging war against God. And when you cast your vote, you casting your vote and giving them permission. They like 65 million Americans said that we represent them and their households and their families. 49% of America, we got a majority that says keep killing people who are the least of these, my brother, in the image of God. So we had the permission of the American citizens. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. This is the criminal conspiracy. These are the criminals.
The world currently has a digital identity.
White Hat's really good, and I love doing coding classes with them.
It's been fantastic to see her journey from kind of hating math
and the merchants of the earth.
I played this video yesterday, so I'm gonna start it from the beginning again. I ain't gonna comment on the first half. I'm gonna let it play all the way through the first half, back to the point where we started, where I left off at. Then I'll sum it up at the end and wrap this video. These are the criminals.
Hey everybody, this is Mike with On Point Preparedness. I want you to take a long, deep look at this picture and recognize that the moment it is capturing is fulfillment of end times prophecy, a moment in time in which you're living. Specifically, it is the fulfillment of an aspect of Revelation chapter 18. You're looking at Pope Francis sitting front and center amongst a wave of suit and ties that have submitted themselves to Pope Francis in a very unique way in which the Bible said would happen. The event that you're looking at is called the Vatican Global Forum, and it's hosted by Fortune and Time magazine, and it was attended by some of the most prestigious businessmen across the world. This includes Fortune 500 CEOs, scholars, labor and church leaders, and philanthropists, and they had all attended in order to forge a new social compact for the 21st century with Pope Francis, that is entering into a contract with Pope Francis and submitting themselves and their resources to his agenda. If we look at the document that was summarized by Fortune and Time magazine called Working Group Solutions, we can see exactly what the intent of this get-together was. The document starts out by stating, "Your Holiness, the report presented here is a result of the work of some of the world's most prominent business and thought leaders." Keep that very important sentence in the back of your mind as we continue. These people that attended the meeting are the world's most prominent business leaders. And these business leaders at this forum, from some of the world's largest companies, have sought to answer the Holy Father's call, that is Pope Francis, to action, forging a new social compact or social contract for the 21st century. If we look at Revelation chapter 18 verse 3, it talks about Mystery Babylon, or this whore that rides the beast in the end times, the church that is control of the one world government. And it's for all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. The merchants in those days were the businessmen. And as Revelation talks about events to come, it is stating that the top merchants or businessmen of the earth will submit to Mystery Babylon, to this church, seeking her abundancies and delicacies. And take a look at this picture again. The importance of where Pope Francis is situated, right in the middle of all the world's top business leaders. And they have all submitted to him their allegiance to carry out his call to action, and also submitted their resources to it as well. So now that we've set the stage, wait till you see what the working groups came out with and what their plan for us is. Now what you're looking at is perhaps the most important aspect of this document that I feel you need to see and you need to share, because it is so readily apparent with what they're doing with regards to the mark of the beast and its spread worldwide. This working group is focused on financial inclusion, and it talks about how there remain obstacles to achieving the World Bank goal of universal financial access, and the fact that there are many challenges to obtaining this goal with hard-to-reach population.
The World Bank, who did I just tell you? The World Bank. The World Bank has a universal financial goal, a World Bank goal of universal financial access. They want to control every person in the world digitally so that they can force you, if you don't do what this criminal organization, remember the Golden Rule law that God said. See, they have to shed the blood of those who are blessed to be fruitful and multiply in order for them to have fruit in their system. They are under the curse of God, so there can't be any fruit in their system unless they physically take it from those who are blessed. So they have put together a digital system that allows them to take all around the globe. It allows their colonies. And the Pope is the infrastructure for the whole system, how the payments go. So he has something called a papal bull. That's their law that states how their economy goes. Who pays the Pope what, for what vice, for what crime, for what black market, for what colony, what crown colony. This crown colony pays this brotherhood, Opus Dei, y'all pay this. These black markets report to Opus Dei, which is the mafia. So all of the gambling and the prostitution of Las Vegas and all of the casinos around the world goes through Opus Dei, the mafia. And Opus Dei is in another brotherhood, the Knights of Malta. So the foot soldiers, Opus Dei, who collect from the people who come into the casino, they will pay the Knights of Malta. The Knights of Malta will pay the Jesuits. The Jesuits will pay the Pope, the sun godfather. God, Magog, the sun godfather. Magog, the sun godfather, who's thrown into the lake of fire at the end. The beast. So what's the World Bank? It is simply another criminal front organization that has to be judged. So what are the casino owners and you being a whale at your casino and you going in and listen, try to tell you the whole drug scene, the whole prostitution, our people that die in the streets of Las Vegas are on the bottom rung. And the economy that runs and gets all of their money from that source, our people are the main source of income in this whole global thing. They just created things like the casino where they can live the lap of luxury off of the extraction from the death of taking our people's blessings and pulling it into their system. So they have to have a systematic structure to extract the wealth.
Financial literacy and other aspects. However,
what is blockchain? Blockchain is the technology that powers cryptocurrencies. To put it simply, a blockchain is a distributed ledger that facilitates an.
However, here is what they propose. Jumpstart the underserved markets. Companies will support initiatives to produce digital identities. Digital identities for the 1/5 of global citizens who lack one and therefore are shut out of the financial system.
Understand that their dream for a one world, there's no Britain, there's no London, there's no European citizens, there's no British citizens, there's no German citizens. You all have been made global citizens. 2015, when Pope Francis came to the United States of America, the whole world embraced, laying down their identity of their. But listen, the only people who claim to have a promised land are those of us who have a covenant with the Most High God. The whole world has agreed that they are global citizens. Even U.S. citizens, when you claim global citizens, you're going to get global citizenship. We are not global citizens. We are the sovereign USA royals that have a covenant, the everlasting covenant with the Most High God. And if you want to challenge these crowns and these thrones, then you have to do it. If you want to come and try and take these crowns and these thrones from the rest of our brothers and sisters and loved ones who are USA sovereign royals with the everlasting covenant with the Creator, then you can come and try and challenge that. But that's what you're going to have to do. This don't apply to us. This does not apply to the United States of America. That has nothing to do with the US, DC, and the British, and the Vatican, and none of that. You don't have an electoral college that applies to us. So even when you go through your process on November the 3rd or November the 4th, and you try and tell the world that the US is in with the global citizens, we're already letting the world know that there's no such thing as a US over here. And the individuals that want to be global citizens, they on a time clock. That's what the Brexitdous means. They need to go take up residency in whatever of the global citizen states. The United States of America is not a global citizen state. It is a everlasting covenant, Hollywood Grill, Hollywood Vineyard. And just like the three Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace, you're going to have to go through the fiery furnace flames with the same Son of God that met them in those flames to try and take this promised land. Come get it. Just like Daniel was willing to go and spend the night with the Lion King of Kings. Just like Daniel was willing to go and sit at the welcome table of the bridegroom from the lion from the tribe of Judah. And then the very people that conspired against Daniel and sentenced him to go and spend a night with his father. You could play around with Pope Francis. You could play around with Donald Trump and Biden and whoever the U.S. puppets is going to try and fake like they got some type of authority. But we just going to let y'all know ahead of time what the outcome is going to be. Yes, we are Daniel. Yes, we have the same stance that Daniel had. We will not partake of anything of this global citizen, Pope Francis, fake ecumenical movement, coexistence. We don't coexist with none of them. We ain't a part of none of them. Not no church do we answer to. Not no church got nothing to do with God's everlasting gospel. The gospel that's going to all the world, and then the end shall come. We are taking that and we will finish the work. And you can come try and stop us. We welcome the challenge. But we are on this sideline, and DC and that fake US and that Statue of Liberty, that, listen, that the reason it ain't on our shore, that Statue of Liberty, it don't got nothing to do with us. You can take that back to Paris. Oh, by the way, the 4 horsemen already have been on the offense. That's why the Cathedral of Notre Dame burnt down. The four horsemen is already riding out on y'all. The cathedral of Notre Dame burned down. I'm going to show you in Revelation 18 that the Most High God said he was going to burn this system down. The four horsemen are already. Y'all can fight against these four horsemen if y'all want to. I'm just letting y'all know. They on our sideline. The United States of America, sovereign U.S. royals have diplomatic immunity from this system. We have our own economy. Your U.S. dollars don't apply to us. Your cryptocurrency don't apply to us. We have our own golden talents given to us by the Most High God, and we are distributing our golden talents to our people. We have our own temple coins. So when our people come to, just like y'all giving out digital currency wallets, the only thing is our currency and our economy will never be brought online to this World Bank. Listen, they took y'all off a gold standard. We are the God's money gold standard. So all of y'all U.S. global citizens who are off the gold standard and are slaves to their monetary system, that don't have nothing to do with our diplomatic immunity. Don't get it confused. And if y'all want this diplomatic immunity, you can have it. You just can't serve. You can't bring the curses of this system down. You cannot mingle. You will be a stranger, and we're not allowing no more strangers within our gates. The wheat, this is the harvest. God said the wheat and tares shall grow together up until this time. He said he will call the harvesters to bring his wheat that are being choked out by the weeds. And he said only the harvesters, only the renowned remnant harvesters can separate the stranglehold from the wheat and tares growing together. And he said, when you separate, bind the weeds up and throw them into the flames. We're throwing you into the flames of the four horsemen of Revelation right now. Christianity, the Hebrew Israelites, all of the stuff that all of these foes of faith, we bind you up for being new wine and not being the oldest wine of the everlasting gospel. We're binding you up and we're throwing you into the flames. And then our people who want everlasting oldest wine, we will bring them into, we'll clean them up because you've been choking them out. We're going to make them whole. This is called the reparations. This is the Brexitdous. This whole process, we're explaining to y'all so y'all know what it is we mean when we say Brexitdous. The Brexitdous is we take the stranglehold of the lies of Christianity for 2,000 years. We erase it, just like they tried to erase our gospel covenant. Just like they tried to erase Paul with Turkey and Istanbul and Constantinople and with Islam, with the Vikings, Islam. Odin is Allah. I challenge you to go study to show thyself approved unto God and prove that Odin ain't Allah. Then you come and holler at us and talk about who's an infidel and who not. Odin with Valhalla is where they gave you Allah at. So, just letting y'all know what these two sidelines are. And the four horsemen who have been holding back the winds of strife until we seal God's children, the harvesters, when we separate the wheat from the tares. In this 5-year period, we're going to take 5 years. From October the 30th We're going to take 5 years and systematically. The little boy gave 5 loaves of bread. 5 loaves of bread. Give us this day our daily bread, and 2 fish. We're going to take 5 loaves of bread. It's going to take us back to the year of Jubilee. Year of Jubilee, all of the lands go back. The children inherit the lands of their fathers at the year of Jubilee. So 5 years from now, it's going to be our year of Jubilee. My sons will inherit the lands of their grandfathers and their great-grandfathers and their great-great-grandfathers in the United States of America. On my 50th birthday, and then on my wife's 50th birthday the next year, the first year of the 2 fish, our daughters will re-inherit the lands, the birthright controlled lands, cleansed by our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-great-grandmothers, our great-great-great-great-grandmothers in the United States of America. 2 years of Jubilee for the birthright, for the first fruit blessings, 5 loaves, and the 2 fish for the birthright. And every global citizen will be outside of our gates. Guarantee you. Guarantee you. Everybody who wants to be in the gates will be in the process of paying the reparations and going through the process. So by the 5 years, 5 years from October the 30th, 2020, Brexitdous will be complete. Then the 2 years of my wife's Jubilee is the victory lap. Then what happens from 5 years from now on? 4 horsemen. 7 last plagues of Egypt. 7 vials of revelation. The time of trouble. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. And what we gonna do the next 14 years? We doing the Joseph. 7 years of plenty. After the 5 years and after we've purged all of these global citizens out of the United States of America and out of our people's land. Listen, we doing this. Brexitdous applies to all of our people all over the globe. Our people in Haiti, our people in the Caribbean. This applies to every colony, everywhere where y'all shed blood. You got to get out. The land goes back to our ancestors, the descendants of Noah that God entered into this first fruit blessing with. Not Shem, the renowned remnant who was faithful in the covenant. The men of Assyria will judge this final generation. The queen of the south, the queen of Sheba, will judge. That's the first fruit blessing, the men of Assyria. That's the birthright blessing, the queen of the south, the queen of Sheba, David's wife, Moses' wife, Ethiopia, Cush. That's right. Every colony, every crown colony, every single place that y'all shed blood, you forfeit forever. Everywhere the Moors walked and did their business and their slave trade, you forfeit. You people of color, you blackamoors, you Boule, you Omega Psi Phi, you Alpha Psi, listen, you got no earthly possessions without redemption, without repentance, rich young ruler voluntarily giving up everything that you have. And then being willing to grind and serve to receive the grace and the mercy to find out if you have a place at the welcome table. That's what you left with. That's what you chose.
This one sentence is saying so much. It's the fact that 4/5 of the world currently has a digital identity, and only 1/5 does not. And Pope Francis's call to action is for these companies to support initiatives to produce unique digital identities for the remaining 5th.
Blockchain technology, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, digital sheep. It's here. Every last nation is creating their own digital currency. China already has their digital currency. United States is right behind Russia. So you're all going to be digital sheep.
5th. And keywords here, global citizens. Something that we have seen come up on the horizon over the past 2 years, and I will begin to explain to you in just a few moments. But this is the mark of the beast, in which Revelation 13:17 talks about that no man might buy or sell save that he has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. They want all quote-unquote global citizens to have unique digital identities for the same financial system so that no one is shut out and that everyone must play. Now,
that's beast talk. So that everyone is shut out who doesn't play. But no man take my life, I laid it. No man shuts us out. They ain't forced us out of their system. This is the same way they did to y'all to get y'all to go into their educational system. You're missing some. You'll die. It's a crime punishable by death if you teach them people how to read. So all of y'all volunteer to go into their system. This is exactly what they're doing to you. When the creator, I just told you, creator has already given us our economic system. We don't care nothing about y'all economic system. Y'all economic system can't prosper no way. And the moment everybody in the world leaves this system alone, you're going to have the life that you've been dreaming about. I'm talking about wealthy. Christianity taught y'all supposed to be poor so that they can rob you and steal your wealth. God ain't never, ever said. He just said you got to have your love priorities in order. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and all vacating all the time, all these things shall be added. Renewing your wedding vows every year, wherever you want in the world, on yachts, on where. Seek ye first every last one of his kings that put him first ruled the whole world. Joseph, Daniel, Job, Noah, all of the resources on every continent, everywhere, with no competition, no nothing, ruled the world. It's only Christianity where you've been taught that to serve God means you got to be poor. Because they knew if you applied having the gospel and the true principles of being an heir, which is automatic guaranteed wealth, the father gave the prodigal son his wealth. How in the world do y'all equate following God as poverty? The son came to his father and said, give me my inheritance. And the father gave him his wealth. He became impoverished when he went into the spiritual system that you're in. He left the true spiritual system of wealth, received wealth, and lost it by going into the system that you're in.
Now, this global citizen term is something very disturbing in its own right, let alone paired up with Pope Francis's call to action. And it is a global community of people that identify with being part of an emerging world community and whose actions contribute to building this community's values.
They world can't emerge. Submerge. He said, those who deceive one of these little ones who believe in me, it would be better to tie a millstone around your neck and be thrown in the depths of the sea. Yeah. That's what the four horsemen of Revelation do to the people on earth who stay in this system. And I just showed you, Genesis 9 said, when you shed blood of humans, by humans, your blood will be shed. This price is paid on earth. Before God even cut this blood audit has to be addressed. We're addressing it right now. We're adjusting it right now. Let's go.
And practices, at least that's what the website says. Really, it is preparing the citizenry for a one world government and the one world religion.
Yep. And so what? To recruit you to opt into this system, they've been going around the world with their pope and your entertainers and doing what? The Roman Colosseum all over again. The Roman Colosseum. NBA, NFL, and for them to get their contracts, they got to shed blood. They got to become sodomite priests and Gomorrah, female on female priestess. And all this is what all of them are. And as the bloodbath went, as apostle after apostle was fed to the lions, all of the people in Rome came to the Colosseum. Listen, before Rome crumbled, Babylon is fallen. Before Rome crumbled, this is the same satanic spirit. Before Jerusalem crumbled, they brought Jerusalem down, and then Rome was brought down with the same spirit that they brought down on the head of Jerusalem. You're looking at it. You're looking at it. Global citizens, all your people. 2020, when the pandemic came out, they had all of these demonic satanic clowns. Yeah, Oprah and Obama, they global citizens. Yup. Trump, Biden, they all global citizens. They all report to the Pope. All you could do is, like the prodigal son, get up out of this system, go back home. Where is home? The covenant. Covenant ain't in Christianity. Never was. I don't care what pastor tell you, even if it's my pops. Tell him to come holler at me. He gonna be straight though. Their intentions is pure. Jacob's intentions was pure when he trained Joseph, even though Jacob didn't have the ability to finish the job, didn't have the knowledge and the vision, but his intentions was pure, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do to train up his child and put Joseph in position to do the work. And then when Joseph got the work done, he sent for his daddy and his whole daddy's house. My daddy and the work that he did and the work that his brothers have done, their intentions have been pure. So their whole house is covered under everything we do. We got the knowledge that we have from the work that our daddies did, separate from this entity. I'm just letting y'all know. Our daddies in them, they don't say the same things that we say. But Jacob didn't receive the revelation and the vision. that Joseph received to bring the family into Egypt and save Egypt and the world. And we're bringing the family into Egypt. And Isaiah chapter 19 says, Assyria, Egypt, and Jerusalem, because of Joseph, will be saved. It says nothing about Gog, nothing about Magog, nothing about Rome, nothing about Greece, nothing about Europe, nothing about London, nothing about Paris, nothing about DC. Assyria, Egypt, and Jerusalem will be saved. Not that fake trash out there. Joseph is the son who is represented in 144,000 twice. So when he says Jerusalem, he's saying the cup. That's why after the 5 years of the Brexitdous, we're going to do the Joseph 14 years. And then it's a wrap. God could do what he's going to do. Because in the age of technology, when we put this here on the internet over the next 5 years, and when we put the covenant on the internet over the next 14 years, it's a wrap. And this gospel shall go into the ends of the earth, and then the end shall come. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. We put 21 years on the clock. I got a nephew that was born 2020. And in honor of my mama, his grandmother that's gone, we put 21 years on the clock. And I said, I'm gonna give your baby same thing you gave me and your babies. 21 years. And every baby that's born between now and then, we're gonna give it to them. In every part of the globe, we're gonna give it to them over the next 21 years. We're going to finish the portion when God say, and this gospel shall go into the ends of the earth. And then we're going to turn it over to the King of Kings and say, whenever you want to come, after we put the system in place over the next 21 years, it could be another 120 years. It could be 1 year. The system is in place. So the shorties in the world know the covenant backwards and forwards over the next 21 years. And once we put back this covenant together and we would erase everything that Christianity and the Muslims and the Buddhists and the Catholics and the Satanists and the Lucifer, after we erase whatever y'all did in the past 2,000 years and put back in the covenant over the next 21 years in front of the whole world, in front of all y'all global citizens, in front of all of y'all whatever, from the United States of America, the headquarters, then we're going to put it in the King of Kings' hands. And we're not caring about when day, what time. We don't care. As long as the covenant is back in place, as long as these babies have not been deceived, as long as they know how every year annually to go directly to the face of the Creator. That's it. So there's a specific response that God said you're supposed to respond to this to show that you're not a global citizen, to put yourself back in the covenant. He said you have to physically assist the four horsemen as the humans on earth. Revelation 19:10, the angel of God came to John, the revelator. And he said, the reason I come to you, you can't worship me. He said, I am not your fellow servant. He's saying, I'm not human. So this is a tag team effort between earth and heaven. That's why he said the earthly is a model of the heavenly. Revelation 19:10, the angel of God came to John the Revelator and said, do not worship me. Only worship the one and only God. Get up. You can't bow to nobody. Number one violation of this global citizen is that the Pope claims to be God on earth, and they bow and they kiss his feet and they kiss his ring, all of y'all are in violation. And then the angel said, I am your fellow servant, here to give an accounting for every drop of blood. So every human being in the covenant on earth has an angel from heaven in this audit, and the person on earth in the covenant gives the angels in heaven permission to carry out Genesis chapter 9 on earth. I am your fellow servant in the blood audit, repaying back humans for every drop of blood. Because God promised that by humans, your blood will be shed. Humans in the covenant, guided by the heavenly angels and the Holy Ghost of the Most High God. So when Daniel put himself as the human in position with God on earth, God was able to judge Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, Belteshazzar, when he continued violating God's law. All of these are Belteshazzars. And because Daniel was the human representative on earth, God sent his hand and did the handwriting on the wall and said, Mene, mene, tekel upharsin. Your kingdom has been weighed in the balances, tried and found wanting. And tonight, your kingdom will be taken from you and given to the Medes. Tonight, October the 30th, October the 30th, handwriting on the wall for global citizens. They will be vagabonds permanently from now to when God comes in judgment. And if you join them, now you know. It's on you. He that knoweth to do good and doth not do it, to him it is sin. So the third video of this, I'm simply going to go actually to Revelation 18, and I'm going to read you what your response to global citizenship is supposed to be. God said, when you see the world rally around the beast system, Revelation 18 is the chapter that tells you what you are supposed to do to those in this blood audit. Revelation 18 is the blood audit from the flood to now. That's what Revelation 18 is. And either you put yourself in a position with Daniel to be a fellow servant, to cause heaven to bring down the judgment on those who have shed the blood, or you join the party of Belteshazzar. This is the party. And when we're going to put ourselves in position to bring down judgment regardless, whether you do or not. And there was a whole host of individuals that partied with Belteshazzar that night and lost their life. You can join the global citizens like all of the Romans celebrated when they fed the people following the commandment of God to take the gospel to the whole world, lost their life. You can join them and celebrate that. I'm just letting y'all know that Revelation 18 tells you what's going to happen to all of those who end up in this group. Come back and watch that next video or not.